Couple of questions for the minister, just two. First, in July, when you came back from China as part of the delegation that went there, you announced a 2 billion facility that had been agreed to, which was sort of going to bring about a localized approach towards landfill treatment and waste treatment. My question is, what is the timeline for us rolling out this landfill sites, the two that is going to be built in every region? Secondly, water governance is an issue that agitates the minds of most international development experts. Just before this round of questions came, you indicated that the water resource mapping has actually begun. I want to find out, in the structure of your plan for the ministry, which ties into the vision of the president, when is it going to be completed on a nationwide scale? Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Alex Boy. I write for the New Proceeding Guide. My question is, looking at Amasama, the previous government started with a project that is linking Amasama to Nsawam, that is to help Amasama get potable drinking water. So the people are still suffering. So what exactly has happened to that very project, and what plans do you have in assisting the people of Amasama? Thank you very much.
I am Joe Bright Nyako, Radio XYZ. There's a question for the minister. Along this stretch of road from Kaneshi to Malam Junction, there's a market there that I know to be called Malam Market. And what is happening there is a certain disposal site. I don't know whether it's a landfill site, which is very appalling, and considering the fact that there's a market there. We did a report on it, and we tried contacting the AMA, and we were told that they could not speak on record, but then there's a plan for it. But I don't know whether that falls in line with what the minister was saying about the transfer side. If it is, that we would like to know. But then the situation is very appalling, and I think there's an abattoir connected to that market. So if the minister can speak to it.
I'm Richmond Edujamana, Boss FM Kumasi. I want to find out from the minister that there's a sanitation issue and the toilet. The few toilets, the government toilet that we have in Ghana, are not being managed well. So I want to find out the new ones that his ministry want to build. What measures are they putting in place to make sure that it will be clean and healthy for our people who will be using those toilets and other things?
Thank you very much. My name is Selom Amenya. I work with TV3. I would like to find out the status of the outdoor drainage project and how much has it cost the country so far in terms of desilting, and are we going to continue desilting every time, or there are plans to find a solution to it? Thank you.
Emmanuel Nia Franco Akoponsaki. I work with Top FM and TV. Honorable Minister, I would like to know if in any way you've chanced on the Gamma project document, which was funded by World Bank with an amount of $150 million, and it's supposed to build 12,500 toilets. Only 900 toilets was built. What, if you have chanced on those documents, what is your outfit going to do about this issue?
My name is Godwin Atamensa. I work for Ghana News Agency. I have two questions. My first question is regarding underground water. Over the years, Ghana has faced problems regarding illegal mining, polluting water bodies, and I know the Water Resources Commission is under your ministry, and they're supposed to monitor these illegal miners to prevent pollution. Now the country is fighting illegal mining to prevent all these things. What measures are you going to put in place to monitor these activities of illegal mining so that we don't go back to this pollution of our water bodies? Then my second question is underground water. We know those who have financial resources sank deeper boreholes, and those who don't have that financial muscle
cannot do that. And so it deprived people who cannot sink deeper boreholes to get water from underground. What measures are you doing to regulate sinking of boreholes in the country? Thank you.
My name is Andrew Blay. I work for GBC Radio. My question follows what my colleague already asked. I'm looking at how Galamsey has polluted most of our water bodies in the country, especially in the rural areas. Mr. Minister, what are you doing as a short-term measure to help those in the rural areas to get quality water to drink? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Minister, you mentioned that 892 million Ghana cedis is the money government owes to pay the waste management service providers. You said government, the Ministry of Finance has released funds, but we don't know, you didn't mention the amount that has been released to pay the people. We'd like to know how much has been released. Secondly, there is the school of thought that says because politicians or governments have been building toilet facilities in residential areas, landlords or landladies tend to rely on that and don't build or don't create toilet facilities in their homes. Do you agree to that? And for that matter, government should rather concentrate on building facilities at schools, market areas, and non-residential places. Thank you very much. My name is Ofui Nuji. I'm from Atinkan FM.
Thank you very much for your questions. First of all, let me say that I didn't want to waste your time or belabor the point by talking about the setup in the ministry. But let me take this opportunity to say that the ministry is made up of the headquarters, Ghana Water Company, Water Resources Commission, Community Water and Sanitation, the Environmental Health and Sanitation Directorate, as well as the schools of hygiene, 3 of them nationwide. So this is the composite of institutions or agencies under us. On the issue of Gamma, it is indeed true that $150 million from the World Bank have been made available for us to improve on various aspects of sanitation in the Greater Accra area. The issues are varied in terms of what has constrained Gamma from achieving what it set out to do. In the first place, it's the question of subsidies. It's based on the concept they call CLTS. The concept that is supposed to get beneficiaries to own the process, to buy into that by investing a little bit into that. That was a constraining factor. And they were not able to raise all the money they needed, the issue of the communities. For instance, I'm supposed to build a toilet in my house. Let's take Accra area as an example. I live in Labadi. I'm supposed to build a toilet in my house. You tell me to pay a certain amount of money for you to complement those resources for me to build a toilet. I'm probably looking for money for 1 bag of maize to give to my auntie to start making cake here and to buy fish and be trading. We don't have the income. That made it difficult for them to be able to move. I'm using that one example. It made it partly difficult for them to be able to move the process forward. We had to renegotiate these terms with the World Bank and agree on the funding and cap it at a certain level and look at how to motivate to provide microfinance or other financing opportunities for those who are really interested in that to be able to access those toilets. With the support from the World Bank and the government of Ghana, we are now ready to roll out on this. And indeed, let me correct that it's not just 900 toilets that have been constructed. I think the total, as we speak, is a little over 1,000 now between the two sources of funding. But we're ready to roll out, and I think tender has gone out for the construction of about 11,000 of them. We're hoping within the next month or two, we'll see many of them come on stream. On the issue of underground water, deeper boreholes, let me say that the nation has not had a comprehensive resource map of the water potential in the nation. Groundwater has to be mapped out thoroughly for us to know what is surface, what is underground, for us to know how to exploit that. I think as we speak, Some has been done in the northern part of Ghana, but we're yet to complete the southern part of Ghana. So we're not very clear the various levels of water that exist in the country. So it's difficult to regulate. Once that map is ready before us, it's easier for us to now set the tone and ensure that people comply with whether they are drilling 60 meters, 100 meters, or in some countries, like in Israel, they go down to even 1 or 2 kilometers to get water. So we'll look at the potential that exists for us, and we'll look at what would be ideal for our situation. We are not exactly deprived in terms of water, in the sense that if you look at landmass, we've got far more volumes of water available to us, given the three sources of water, red, black, and white water up north that are running down here. They can be captured and used to recharge the groundwater, and also Ghana Water can use that as water treatment dams. So we are not doing badly in terms of the potential that exists. So we need to guide ourselves by rules and regulations directed by policy for us to be able to advise who should go down 5 meters, 10 meters, 60 meters, 100 meters, and so on and so forth. So that's what I can say by way of that. While I'm on Water Resources Commission, let me add, and it ties into the Galamsey matter too. Indeed, again, I didn't want to reading 20 pages to you on everything that we've done in the ministry. But there's a lot more that we have done. The ministry is part of the Interministerial Committee on Galamsey. But it's the Environment Minister who's leading, Lands and Forestry Minister and myself are the two key partners to the Environment Minister. And then we have supporting ministers from the regional reorganization, local government, and then monetary evaluation ministers. So we've been engaging in stakeholders and in our own internal consultations. We've provided all kinds of inputs into what you see happening in terms of Operation Vanguard now. Various assessments, the testing of the water in the most polluted areas revealed many things, some of which are on the board outside. Whereas the standard National Turbidity Unit, NTU, should be 5 for Ghana, we've gone as high as 9,000 in certain areas, which is a cost to Ghana Water Company and any other party that wants to treat water. So Water Resources Commission has led the way with the ministry featuring in the interministerial consultations and providing advice and ideas and policy direction on what to do. We've also been able to propose the protection of river bodies and putting in the security post in the future to prevent anybody or any party that will go and pollute the water bodies. These are things that we can't go through all the details here, but generally, in terms of policy direction, we've been involved in the ideas that put together the strategy for the Operation Vanguard and the follow-up measures in terms of being able to protect the water bodies. It's one other aspect of it. The Ghana Water Company also provided input in terms of the areas where their plants were most polluted. It was costing them a lot. In fact, in some cases, I think in Chibi, they had to close down the treatment plant because the turbidity was so high that they would virtually treat mud instead of water. And so they came up with some ideas on how to dredge the immediate vicinities of the intake valves to be able to get good water to treat for us. That has worked. And also the rains have come and supported as well. And the Operation Vanguard has been able to get rid of most of the people around the critical areas of where the water is being polluted. That makes it difficult for us to access the water to supply to households or businesses. On the matter of funding, an average has been released out of the 892. As I indicated, the debt is owed in different ways and forms. There's a payment that should go to the JIDA workers and sanitation guards. As we speak, I think about 150 million cedis have been released for the Labour Ministry through YA to be able to cater for that. The District Assembly Common Fund also paid a significant amount. I don't have the figures at hand now. They've been able to pay for some of the services that are being provided, especially the operations and maintenance of the landfill sites to enable them to take on more waste. The figure, I'm sure I can share with you very soon, but I didn't bring all the numbers with you here, with me here. 50 million is part of what we've gotten to be able to do the evacuation and also to build some mini transfer stations throughout Accra. We're looking at 15 mini transfer stations. By that, we're talking about a station or processing plant that would be perhaps twice, 3 times the size of this room, where the neighborhood can send their waste to, and then the bigger service providers can now go with their skip trucks or compactors, convey the waste to the final disposal site, or the major transfer stations such as in Ashmota.
So my name is Gabriel Ni Ubudai Togbo Ashon Kwaosunu, and I'm with Metro TV. A quick follow-up to my colleague's question is that you mentioned about a national sanitation, a total sanitation campaign to be launched soon. I stand to be corrected, but if I had it right, I want to know how different this would be from the national sanitation campaign which we've seen. And though much investment has been made, we are still yet to see the desired results. And apart from that, we have the whole School of Hygiene, which is 42 years old. And it's been in a rented apartment since it was established. And as of now, it is still in a rented apartment, and the owners of the structures are about to eject them. They've appealed and even presented a petition to your outfit, but yet to hear from you. And this has been ongoing for a number of years now. Have you received their petition? And please, what step are you taking in that regard? Thank you.
My name is Mark Byron from UTV. For me, my question is, it appears the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources is not interested in the sanitation day. You're still not interested. Why? Why that?
Right. Good morning. My name is Parker Wilson, and I work at Class FM. I get a sense that you're very passionate about open defecation. And so I want to find out, the correlation between open defecation and then our economy, the impact it has on our economy. I want to find out. And again, you were talking about 1 million, trying to achieve a 1 million target. If possible, can we get the statistics so far? And then again, if you go to Abokobi, there's this dumping site there where the Pantai Hospital there, they've been complaining for some time now. Want to know from you, again, what are you doing to help reverse the situation? And then finally, 892 million left behind by the NDC government. Will there be any investigation to ensure that indeed the monies that they left behind were accurate, or maybe they bloated the figures or within the contract and all of that?
My name is Regina from Easy FM. So recently, the Aberkan Circuit Court, I think, sanctioned or prosecuted some 19 people who dumped waste around N1 Malam Junction, and I think it was a move in the right direction. And most of the times, we see that people defecate in our drainage systems. We look on and then we just pass by. What is your outfit doing to sanction these people who defecate in our drainage systems? And lastly, during these National Sanitation Days, first week of every Saturday, first Saturday of every month, yes. We realize that when we distill our drainage system, we just put the rubbish or the sand at the shoulders of the gutter. When it rains, when people pass by, it just gets back into the gutters and it chokes. So every month we go there, we clean them, and it gets back into the system. What is your outfit? What measures are you putting in place to gather all these problems? Thank you very much.
My name is Mabel Akubanise. I'm a reporter with the Daily Graphic. I don't know whether you have been briefed, but the British government, more than, I think, about 12, 13 years ago, pumped about £3 million into a landfill project at Fabinia. And the total cost of the project was £6.5 million. Then when you got to that stage, residents were agitating against it. So they had to stop. And for some time now, I haven't heard anything about that project. So I don't know what your plans are to bring that project back on stream. And then my second question has to do with you made mention of a policy on plastics. You have a proposal on plastic waste and how to manage plastic waste. Can you please give us some more highlights into that project? Thank you.
My name is Abdul Hanan. I work with Marhaba FM here in Accra. The area of Bantai, the people over there are actually agitating. They are against, the waste management providers or companies dumping rubbish at those areas. And even just 2 days ago, managers of the Bantai hospital were also worried about the situation of dumping rubbish in that area. And then they are calling on government to actually do something about it, because even now, the activities of, land gas are also visible in that area. So it's a major source of worry for these people. So I'd like to know if we are considering, relocating the dumping site in that area to another direction, or, trying to keep the situation over there. And to my main question, another colleague mentioned Amasamai, but for me, I'm going to Danfa. Because in Danfa, the water that is running through their taps is not water that is drinkable. And these people have to, incur another cost of paying for water that they can be able to drink. Because the water over there is sometimes very salty, and they can't use it to, at times they can't even use it to cook when the salt content is higher in the water that runs through their tap. So I want to know if there's something the ministry, your new ministry, is considering doing for that particular area. The area of Aimensa, Huima, Danfa, and some parts of OEB. My very last question. As far as I can remember, in Kumasi, the Otunfo Osetutu used to do something on every Saturday, whereby he announces on radio stations. If my Kumasi folks will remember, the moment the announcement is done, shop owners in Nedum, Kejetia, and Roman Hill and Bantima and all those areas, they come out to clean. And no single shop owner is seen operating during those hours. So with this National Sanitation Day policy that has come up, and in your latter part of the submission, you mentioned applying of law. And I don't know if you can inculcate something of that sort in Kumasi into the National Sanitation Day, whereby we will have traders and shop owners closing down their shops and make sure that they participate in the National Sanitation Day process. Thank you very much.
On the issue of the $2 billion we're able to package during our visits to China with the Vice President, it is indeed true that we're able to get some commitment from some companies in China through the Exim Bank of China, and I did mention that they are collaborating development finance organizations. The objective of this financing was to ensure that we have 2 major waste sorting or transfer stations in each region of the country. A team has come from China, a team with which we signed a framework agreement. I think they've been here for about 6 weeks. About 6 weeks to nearly 2 months. No, about 6 weeks or so. They've done the scoping, they prepared their minutes, they've given us preliminary ideas on how they want to undertake that. We are negotiating that with them before we sign off anything to move on from that point onwards. We cannot exactly say by way of timing in terms of when it's going to commence, because what we are concluding with them is what they will feed to the program of the Exim Bank of China, and then we have to go through the whole negotiation process and get the government, that is cabinet and parliament, to approve those funds before we can access them. We're hoping that will not go past the first quarter of next year, the longest haul, if you may put it so, to be able to access these funds. So that's a major exercise we have to undertake. There are other private investors who are prepared to support us in that regard. The 2 we proposed was just what we can start off with. There's a lot more we need. In fact, I think on the average we probably need about 4, 5, or 6 in each region. On the issue of the mapping, resource mapping for water, and the Water Resources Commission, the studies are ongoing. I just signed off a letter to access some funding from some of our development partners to give them the resources they need to be able to commence the project in terms of mapping the southern half of the country. Until those funds come on stream, I cannot give you exact timing. But it was just, I think, 2 days ago that I signed that letter off to get the funding to commence the process. The Amasaman project is an issue of funding. More pipelines are required to lay the pipes and bring the water down. Water cannot come from Sawam anymore. It has to come from Boy area. And I think the Minister of Finance is working with us, and the Ghana Water Company has got its constraints in terms of being able to get all the pipes, the money for the pipes to extend the water everywhere. They're trying to raise funding, but they're not able to collect enough from their tariffs, and so those are the issues we have. Again, we're hoping that with the commitment of the President, we can access some funding to be able to do this rapidly. Kaneshi Malam, the market, and then the waste that's there. I announced that we're going to set up about 15 mini transfer stations. There's one nearby that market. It's not being patronized. Once we do the evacuation, we're going to ensure that those who are going to bring any waste to that area will now go to the nearby transfer station. I think it was constructed by Tidy Up. We encourage you, the media, to support us. We don't talk about these things that are affecting the sanitation situation in terms of people not complying. Then the problem will always be there. We can bring up all the policies, we can get the funding, we can get things started, but then the attitudinal aspect of it, if it doesn't change, we cannot really transform the situation. But specifically about that area, Malam, Glefe, Adenimpo, a few of them are part of the areas where we're going to apply the money for the emergency evacuation. So we have plans to start in the next few days to evacuate the waste from Malam. There are issues of some parties wanting to use the waste to recycle and to do other things that would bring value to the nation. If they're not able to do it fast enough, we have to convey this waste somewhere. In some areas we just have to spread and ramp it and cover it with laterite and fence it around so that it's neater and grass can be grown on it so that it becomes a green area. So these are things that we've got the money for, and we're going to start on that as soon as practicable. There's also the issue of some people resisting entry to those areas. Again, this is where the media comes in to try and let us know if it's Honorable Kofi Adda who is preventing Mr. Susan So from cleaning up the waste. You pointed out, name and shame, and let them understand that this is something that they should allow us to happen. I announced in the statement that we're looking at those young men and women who are into the boiler taxis, the tricycles and the motor kings. We're trying to formalize this, bring them back into the formal sector, regulate their operations, and support them with financing so that they comply and convey the waste to the treatment plants if they're near there, all the transfer stations. Until that is done, we keep seeing black spots all over the country. Management of toilets and how clean and healthy it should be, and then also the community toilets matter. I did state that Ghana is ranked one of the lowest in the country, which is shameful to us. We go to football and we're boasting all over the world and how well our team is doing. Ghanaian intellectuals and professionals are all over the country. When it comes to open defecation, very sad. The measures that we used to announce how we're performing, generally we talk about improved household toilets. We're not talking about communal toilets. The government is still pursuing communal toilets in as far as institutional toilets are concerned. Schools, hospitals, and marketplaces. But the general communal toilets, I think we're moving away from that and trying to put the money into household toilets. So the individuals who are not prepared to comply will apply the law. But again, we expect good corporate citizen responsibility coming up from the likes of you, friends of the media, to let the people know that it's in their best interest to cooperate, to allow us to construct toilets in their house. So the important issue on this is that we're looking at improving household toilets. That's why we talked about one house, one toilet. And we're targeting 1 million toilets to construct during the 4 years of Nana Akufo-Addo's administration. The compound toilets, the general ones that are dotted everywhere in the country, that will move away from. And I'm glad to announce here that some proposals have come indeed. Some entities are out there in the communities with our endorsement to negotiate with the assemblies to build the market toilets, because the market women and young men and other people who stray in and out of markets can use them because they don't live there. The institutional toilets are also areas that others are willing to fund and to raise the money back and pay for that. But from our side, from the government side, we've got funding from the World Bank. That is before cabinet. And once that's approved, we'll be able to speed up this process. Building some institutional toilets for the schools and hospitals, and also expanding the household latrines. The cleanliness, there are all kinds of materials that are coming on stream from technology in terms of chemicals and how we can treat the areas and make sure they're hygienic for our use and so on and so forth. These are things that we are also examining and negotiating with them to see how they can be applied. But we need approvals from the Standards Authority to be able to acquire some of those chemicals, apply them in these institutional or public toilets. Odor drainage. Strictly speaking, the government has decided to distinguish the water or the sanitation from the works. And what is going on at Odor is simply the works. The construction of the drains, the major drains, and the filtration systems and the sewage systems. That is under the purview of the Minister for Works and Housing. I know he's working tirelessly on that. I cannot give you the details and I cannot state the numbers on that, but I do know that it's something that he's been working hard on, trying to raise the funding to ensure that we're able to complete this and not go to it every year. On the first matter of the Kufuor administration and the program that was laid out, I happen to have been part of it, part of his government, and I'm pretty much aware of what is going on. I'm also quite closely related to the sanitation module that was part of the youth employment program and the coming up of Zoomlion and the others. The different thing we're doing now under the Akufo-Addo administration is the setup of the ministry to start with. There was no dedicated ministry giving focus to this sector, and this is what we are being charged to do. And I have 2 deputy ministers assisting me, and they're giving us the resources to try and build up. But we needed to lay the roadmap to be able to do this and do it well, in a structured manner, in a comprehensive, integrated manner. So I think the difference is going to be the series of initiatives that we're bringing up. We did not talk about the Sanitation Authority. And so you had the Environmental Health and Sanitation Department, first being in the Ministry of Education and Health, coming to local government. Now they have a home. And they are the experts, they are the engineers, they are the technicians. They know how to really lead us through this. And they've got a ministry that can relate to them. To convert them into an authority, we give them the bite, as it were, to be able to execute these things very well. Of course, we have to complement that with resources, financial resources. This would open up the way for them to feel confident to be able to do their work. Secondly, the resources we are getting released from the Ministry of Finance, approved by the government. Those resources are showing that we are serious about what we want to do. But that is coming on the back of a comprehensive plan that we've been crafting over the past few months. The policy, the programs, the total sanitation campaign, those are the things that we will still share with you to get your inputs. We will get your participation in the process to ensure that we're able to touch every nook and cranny of this nation for us all to agree to change. It's simple for all of us to look at the problem, in my view. When we all wake up, not only do we sweep around our compounds, we bath, we put on the neatest dress before we come to work. It means we are not dirty people. So let's transfer that attitude into the positive attitude of cleaning the environment. And that's the center of what we are trying to put together in the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources. We didn't want to do things No, it's normal business. No, let's just go by the way things are. Or have a sanitation day. That idea was good. But it's only good for that day. When that day is over, we're all gone. Back to whatever we're doing. We pile up the waste and come back and put it by the gutter side and then wash back into the gutter, as was said by one of your colleagues. I mentioned my vetting. It's better for us to look at every day as sanitation day. So everything must be done every day, whether it's in our rooms, our compounds, our workplaces, and so on and so forth. The total sanitation campaign will elaborate on the details. But I can assure you that the culture that existed before, that made Ghana clean when I was a kid, is being brought back to play in this era. Just to give you an example, we had what we call schools of hygiene prefects in schools. What is stopping us from having sanitation marshals in all the departments? Minister of Information, the minister and his colleagues would designate somebody as hygiene or sanitation marshal in the ministry. That brings the awareness up and gets them to do a certain set of things in the course of the week or month, if that person is responsible for a week or month's set of duties. I think these are some of the details in the total sanitation campaign that took us time to bring up, that we think will make a big difference in terms of how we're going to execute that. Again, I go back to the fact that the President, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has set up a dedicated ministry. Bear in mind that now he's a co-manager of the Sustainable Development Goals. He and the Prime Minister of Norway are the co-managers of this program. And I don't think he wants to go back to the UN and say that I didn't deliver on the SDGs. And my ministry, I keep saying, is an SDG ministry. SDG 6, for that matter, with sanitation and water. Schools of hygiene petition, yes, I've received a petition. They are not the only ones going through this problem. Many government establishments have lost their land to squatters. They've not had adequate resources to be able to put up the structures that they need. By bringing the schools of hygiene into the ministry, the President has recognized that we need to build their capacity. We need to get them at the forefront to train our people to be equipped intellectually and academically to be able to deliver on this agenda. And we started off in our negotiations with the credit facility from the African Development Fund. $500,000 is what we made available immediately to the schools of hygiene. And there's a lot more that we're going to make available to them. I think there are issues of tenancy, issues of landlord matters, things that you have to be careful how you handle these. Otherwise, you run into all kinds of litigation issues and never get far. So we are aware of that, and we're working on the best manner that we should utilize to try and get the best results for the schools of hygiene. Issue of Pantang. Pantang is full. They shouldn't be dumping in there. The attitude that I mentioned with regard to border taxes, the lack of compliance on some of the trucks, the enforcement is what will address the matter. And the funds that have been released from the Minister of Finance, I did indicate 15 mini transfer stations. One will be constructed in the Medina or the La Nkwantanang area, and they can move there and dispose of their waste in that place. But those with the bigger trucks, they are resistant going to the waste transfer stations and the bigger landfill sites. Again, I don't think there's a better way of dealing with this than to enforce and make sure that the place is protected. Nobody goes to dump any waste there when it's full and there's no room, and then it's running to people's houses. We are aware. We've been dealing with the Assembly, the Chief Executive, and her staff, and trying to see how best to handle this matter. The interrogation of the 892 million cedis, I say, yes, that's what we're doing. We're trying to make sure these are debts we genuinely owe that we have to pay. But you cannot just let them sit still. I'm talking about the waste service providers. And that's why some payments have been made upfront to them. And we'll be able to address that matter very soon. The Abeka area and the open defecation, all these are part of the broad agenda we're working on. I think we have to go to the sites now for us to know the details of what we have to be doing. To say it here will be more general and would not bring the results that we require. I think on the issue of the enforcement, in the interim, we are going to involve the security agencies to ensure that they allow us to evacuate the waste and also to prevent people from bringing waste into areas where the place is already congested or full, such as Pantine. So the military has been in consultation with us. In fact, on my way here, I got a call from the Brigadier General wanting us to come and have a meeting with them on how they will deploy their personnel to support us. I think we are all in agreement on making sure that our city is clean. When this starts, we need your sympathy. We need for you to be able to articulate these things on the airwaves for people to comply. Until we start getting people to know that what they're doing is not right, they will not mind us. And again, the most important thing, the young men and women who are into the border taxi business are the ones that we're going to try and streamline things with them so that the contribution they are making to the seriousness of the problem doesn't continue in the manner in which it is now. On open defecation, I can't say anything more than the fact that we are pushing for household latrines or toilets, and that's the only way that we can get rid of open defecation so that nobody goes by the gutter to defecate for us to look at arresting them and what have you. So that's what I can say by way of responses to your questions. Thank you very much.
I would like the Managing Director for Ghana Water Company to fill in a gap.
Thank you very much. For the last questioner, Danfa is not being managed by Ghana Water Company. That's a private operator. It's not Ghana Water Company. Our pipes have not gone there. And that's the issue that as a nation we need to begin to look at. Whether we cannot regulate private people getting involved in water delivery, because you can never tell the quality of the water. And that's a major problem. And I don't know whether it's water resources or food and drugs or another organization. If you go to Brongahavu, it's widespread. And the challenge is that once they begin to do it, as a company, you might want to control your extension into those areas. Because already somebody is supplying them and it will dampen demand if you go there. So you might not be able to make your investments if you venture to go and join them. So as a country, we need to begin to look at it. It's not Ghana Water Company that is working on that.
Water is life, they say. And cleanliness is next to godliness. And therefore, the Ministry of Water and Sanitation must embody the spirit of our nation. We say that we are a nation of a religion. We are a nation that is devoted to God. How can we be devoted to God when we are unclean? How can we be devoted to God and have life if we pollute all of our waters? Cleanliness, in my view, is also a matter of mentality and principle. The nations that are clean are not clean because their governments clean the streets. They are clean because the people did not pollute the places in the first place. So there is a sense in which we have a responsibility to our environment. And there's a sense in which government also has a responsibility to help us keep our sense of responsibility to our environment. In other words, we have a shared responsibility with government for doing what it is that we have to do to keep our environments clean. The famous Yanya Rasasi Ni tune says that Yanananum Ayebi na Edruya so say Yebi Atwaso. It is important that every Ghanaian makes a commitment not to throw banana peels, rubber, paper, whatever it is, onto our streets. The same Ghanaians who live in London and New York and Helsinki and Warsaw, who don't litter those places, are the Ghanaians when they are in Accra, litter Accra. That for me is a contradiction. And it is important that we resolve that contradiction. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention today.